this audience that we're running traffic to, most of the people responding are in this level of awareness. So all of our ads are going to be crafted on this level of awareness. So we get super granular on that level to where like, I mean, dude, we'll be running 15 audiences and have different levels of awareness in each one.
Spear and Clover podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Jason Skisick. Super excited. We've got Ryan Steenburgh here today. Ryan is the owner of Ryan Dale Media. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. You know, you and I don't know each other that well, and we've only talked a few times, but we did work together. You were in charge of marketing for a company that I formerly owned. So the few times that we have talked, you've had a ton of great insight. And so that's one of the reasons why I asked you to come on the show today. I like to give people an opportunity to kind of just tell us who they are and what they do, because I've botched it every time I've tried. So tell us a little bit about you, man.
Well, like you said, my name's Ryan. I'm a youth pastor, volunteer on Wednesday nights. My wife and I co-youth pastor a church.
Yeah.
Just fun. Lots of unique insights come from that position. Also run an advertising agency. You basically just help e-commerce brands, coaches, consultants, service-based businesses that need inbound appointments. So that's been bread and butter for a while. I got my start in it trying to sell cat t-shirts.
Okay.
I was like 18, just graduated high school. But yeah, man, that's basically it. I really don't do much outside of those two things.
Yeah.
Except for lift weights and punch Bob in my garage.
Okay. All right. I've met Bob. So, well, I can't let that slide. You got to tell me about the cat t-shirts, man. What was the story behind that?
Dude, so I was 17. I had started working at a Taco Bell, like my first real job.
Yeah.
And I was basically just saving every paycheck to use on ads. So I saw this course from this guy named Justin Senior. Like really, I don't even know if he's still in the marketing world or e-commerce world at all.
Sure.
But anyways, I saw a YouTube video from him or an ad or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was saying that he sold $1 million worth of cat t-shirts. And I was like, dude, if you can sell that, I can sell that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I consumed some of his content and then basically spent my life savings at the time when I was 18.
Sure.
Which was like $5,000 on ads on Facebook trying to sell cat t-shirts. No success at all.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Was not good, man.
So was that the first time you thought about being an entrepreneur, or had you kind of felt that before when you were younger?
I had always kind of been into flipping stuff whenever I was a kid. Like I would either go through my room, find stuff I wasn't using and sell it to friends at school. It wasn't like the typical oh yeah, I flipped sodas and candy in school just like every other entrepreneur.
Sure.
But it was more like my parents would buy me things and I would sell them to people at a discount.
Okay. That's funny. Yeah. I used to flip bikes on Craigslist and MacBooks and all sorts of stuff like that. Whatever I wanted, I would just flip it until it was free, you know? Yeah. That's interesting, man. Cool. So you mentioned being a pastor. So I know even just a little bit that I've met you, faith has kind of came up multiple times. Do you find that it informs the way you run the business? Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, definitely, man. For sure. I feel honestly, dude, I don't know where I'd be without it, my faith and in God. Yeah, no, it definitely changed the way that I approach almost everything in my life.
Yeah.
There's I don't know what the word is. I think it's analogy, where they talk about people try to slice up their life as a pie. And it's okay, I'll give this section of this section of this. And then this section will be my faith. And the analogy was your faith should be the filling inside of it, not just a slice.
Oh, okay.
And so it impacts the way I do everything, from the way the way I treat my family down to the way I run the business. So it really just doing the right thing, even if it sucks for us, is kind of what it looks like. There's been times where I used to run a coaching program called Fix My Agency, and I ended up shutting it down just because I don't like coaching. It's answering the same questions over and over again it gets old fast. Working on my patience a little bit, but
yeah,
I'd had this coaching program for a while in early 2020, before lockdown.
Sure.
And a dude actually came back to us. They had gone through the program, got results, like got clients, and he came back to us a year and a half later and was asking for a refund. And I was like,
Really?
dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And like his reasoning was like he was talking about how like he had lost his clients, the other business that he had had where he had used the money to pay to get into FMA had like gone under as well, and like he was 3 months behind on rent.
Hmm.
And I was like, shoot, like why would you tell me
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
But so we ended up like it sucked, but we ended up refunding him. But it's like that kind of stuff where it's like even if it sucks, you still got to do the right thing because that's just who you're supposed to be. And so even when it hurts, like you still got to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, even already, and again, I don't know you that well, but even already, I hear something interesting, which is like you didn't even like coaching that much. And by the way, I met you as a coach, and I thought you were pretty good. It wasn't through your service, but you work for. Are you still doing Cole Gordon stuff?
No, not
Oh.
anymore.
Cole runs a sales training program. It really was very impactful in sales training for me. But you were the guy that helped out with the digital marketing stuff, right? So you don't even like that. The guy clearly comes back, doesn't have much of a leg to stand on, and you still kind of dug into your purse strings a little bit there. So that's good on you, man. And you said you're married, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And how old are you? How old were you when you got married?
I was. How long have I been married? Dang. I was
Oh no.
21. I think it was. Yeah, we got married in 2018.
Yeah,
So it's been what is
me
it?
too.
What year is it now? 4 years?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2022. Yeah.
Sure. Almost. It'll be your fourth anniversary whenever you hit it. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because some of the people that I've met who are just really, bound by values, whether it's religious, whether it's a different ethic, whether it's just hard work, whether it's just being good people, they've married younger. And I think in our generation, or your generation, and even mine, that's uncommon, right? Is that something that you think about? Is that something that you've given thought to?
Like being married young.
Just marrying young, kind of, it seems like I think a lot of people now your age and me when I was your age, looking to do bad stuff, looking to get into trouble during their 20s, right? And you chose a different path. So I think there's something interesting to that. Is that something that was deliberate? Was that something you knew you wanted to do, or was it just what was in front of you at the time?
I'd say a little bit of both. I always wanted to. Honestly, like even from whenever I was younger, I was like, I need to find somebody young because in my head, like like every entrepreneur knows that they're going to be successful even when they're not.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Just it's like the hope at the end of the tunnel, knowing that you can, because like I mean that's like the entrepreneur spirit is if somebody else can do it, I can do it.
Yep.
But so I always did want to find like somebody young because I didn't want to have to be successful later and trying to figure out if somebody liked me for who I was or if it was just because of what I could give them.
Yeah. Pity
Um,
the wealthy, for they know not who their friends are.
yeah, dude, that's a
Yeah.
deep quote.
Yeah. That's a float quote, baby. Okay, so you've been married now for a few years. You're a youth pastor. This is all super wholesome stuff, and you're helping folks with online marketing. The thing that I took away, because as a coach, I knew we tried very early at my last business at FBU to own some of people's results in the marketing space, and almost immediately regretted that decision. Right, for us, we were subject matter experts. We worked with brick and mortar gym owners and entrepreneurs and coaching, and that's where I'm very comfortable. Where I wasn't comfortable was owning folks' results in marketing. And as a result of that, have worked with, some great companies. Fuzz Media was great. I worked with some not so great companies that obviously I won't name, but it's a crowded space. When I found you, there were a few things that made you stand out to me, especially at the level of service that you provide. Tell us a little bit about what makes your agency different than, the ClickFunnels guru that hangs a shingle and a gold plaque.
Hangs a shingle on the goal. I love that, dude. I would say, I mean, the main thing is just that we actually like really do care about getting people results.
Sure.
Um, like there's been times where it wasn't even our fault if somebody didn't get results. Like sometimes their pages didn't convert, offer wasn't validated, and so like it was just like a losing battle anyway. But a lot of times, like the times where it's not necessarily our fault has been on the website side or funnel conversion rate.
Hmm.
Um, and like there's been times even then where we've like refunded people just because of it. But I think that like the main thing that separates us is like we're holistically involved. It's not necessarily just pushing buttons on the ad side. It's like, hey, we're going to do copy for you. We're going to script your video ads. If we notice that your funnel's not converting, we'll go through your entire funnel, record a video, send it to you. with recommendations of what we should change. Like it's a lot more of an in-house marketing team than it is just a Facebook ad agency. Like even for some of the e-commerce companies we work with, like we're involved on product development, like coming up with new product ideas, new ways to maximize like lifetime value, just because it's like your success is our success. And so like we're gonna go to bat and try to do everything we possibly can to put you where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great way of describing the difference that you guys have compared to others in my experience as well. But I want to kind of dig into that a little bit. So this is kind of a general entrepreneurs podcast. So there's going to be folks listening to this that, maybe they are not yet entrepreneurs, maybe they work online and are very familiar with what you're talking about. Maybe they don't, right? Maybe they're a dentist or something. But the thing that I really took away was, for starters, what you're doing, right? You're building, why don't you just say nuts and bolts? What is it, the service that you're providing in order to help folks with online marketing? Like, what are the things that you're doing for them?
Media buying,
Sure.
ad copy, copywriting, like whole strategy, like going through figuring out exactly like what's going to work best for your business in order to get you whatever your goal is.
Yeah, to that point, like writing copy, having a copywriter, having somebody that's actually coming up with strategy and offers. Like we worked on offers together. I think
Yeah.
that's something that's just unavailable at a high level at the level of service that you're providing, right?
Yeah, no, not a lot of people do it, man. Like it's crazy because like I'll hop on calls and like people that literally charge double than us but do less. And I'm like, how in the
Sure.
world?
Get
How in
used
the
to
world?
that.
Like, how are you charging this much and still
Yeah.
around? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
understand. But yeah, like, yeah, we do the strategy, copy, ad buying, really anything that's gonna affect the success of marketing. Just because like we are just doing hired to do marketing, but if the marketing's not working because of something else, like we have a level of responsibility, whether it's on the contract or not, to try to make sure that marketing's performing.
Yeah, you want to win, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you go out and win. And if you can stack up a bunch of little wins, pretty soon you're a big fucking winner, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, definitely.
What is it? The slight edge, the 1% better every day,
Yeah,
and 100 days
yeah,
later, you're 100% better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually more than that, right? Compounding getting better.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be like 50.
So I remember we talked on the phone one time, and it was about, I worked in, all right, still work in the fitness space, right? And you talked about like kind of levels of awareness. And that was maybe one of the more interesting concepts that I had heard. I haven't since read the book that you had recommended, but talk to me a little bit about sort of the different markets that you've worked with and how the levels of awareness of those markets can be.
Yeah, so the book's Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz.
Yeah.
Super solid. It's $150, but it's like
Marketing
you
books
know,
get away with craziness, don't they? They'll be like, yeah, it's out of print, but you can find it for $750 in hardcover.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, literally, man. And then there's like a free PDF online if you just I probably shouldn't say that, but
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, I hear you.
if you want to be shady.
Well, it's one of those things too where, when you think about it, you're going to make that 10 times over. But either way, so breakthrough marketing, because I actually did end up purchasing the book. I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet.
But yeah, so 5 levels of awareness. So like essentially every market is at some stage, well, not just the market, but all the people inside the market are at one of the 5 levels.
Sure.
Um, so the first level is essentially like something that's brand new. So like if it was like a weight loss product, just because that's the easiest one to come up with headlines for. Like the first level of awareness is just lose weight. So it's a brand new offer. Nobody's ever heard of it. Nobody's done it before. The entire market's at level one, lose weight. The second level is they've seen that claim. So now you have to make the claim more dramatic. A lot of times people just do that with a time frame. So like the second level of awareness and weight loss would be like lose weight in 90 days. So that's like the second level. And then there's a third level of awareness where you have to start using unique selling propositions or just like a unique mechanism that separates you from everybody else. So like Chrysler in I think it was like the 1950s or 40s even came out with an angle about their leather seats and how they were Corinth leather. Corinth doesn't mean anything. It's just
Get out of here.
marketing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was regular leather, but I think it was like 30 something percent their sales increased when they started using that angle.
Wow.
But yeah, that's like the third level of awareness is something unique about what you do. So for lose weight, it would be like lose weight with our new vinegar drink, which was like something that was relatively recent in like the last 5 years, which took the world by storm. Even my mom was drinking it. And I was like, Mom, come on. Like, that's just marketing. But then level 4 is the unique selling proposition and the mechanism with the drama like added into it, like
Sure.
a time frame. It's like lose weight with our new vinegar drink in 90 days guaranteed. And then the fifth level is where every claim has been made, almost every mechanism has been used, or the people have just seen them. And the fifth level is more identifying with the person and with their pains. So, like for lose weight, it would be like, are you tired of being ashamed when you take your shirt off at the beach? That would be like the fifth level of awareness. So, every market is operating, and every buyer in that market is operating at one of those five levels. And so, like, part of what we do whenever we test ads for our clients is every setup and every ad set, we use ads in those levels of awareness to try and gauge, okay, in this audience that we're running traffic to, most of the people responding are in this level of awareness. So all of our ads are going to be crafted on this level of awareness. So we get super granular on that level to where, like, I mean, dude, we'll be running 15 audiences and have different levels of awareness in each one. So there will be like a handful at this level, a handful at this level. Most markets in the world, they're in the bottom three, where it's a mechanism and a time frame, and then like identifying with their pain. Anything in the digital marketing world, level 5. It's some of the most like high level awareness markets. The market's so sophisticated to where they've seen every single claim. And even at the level 5, like almost everything's been said in our space.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting because, coming from fitness and into digital marketing and coaching, right? All three of those are I look over the fence sometimes at other companies and I'm like, God, if I could sell to those people, like, yeah, obviously like real estate or cars or fitness, all diet stuff, weight loss, that's all at a very high level awareness. We've kind of all been inundated with those things. And then you talk to somebody from a different line of work and you can tell that their market is at a lower level of awareness. Do you find that depending on the level of awareness that it's easier or more reproducible, or is it just you got to have the right tool for the job?
Yeah, lower levels of awareness are definitely easier from like a marketing standpoint.
So like
Like,
NFTs right now are like super easy to bamboozle folks with, it seems like.
oh yeah, dude,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anything in the crypto world,
Yeah.
even old industries like roofing. If you're running ads
Right.
for a roofing company, like we recently brought one on, and the first angle that I wrote was like a super high level awareness, where it was like talking about the pain somebody would have from having holes in their roof. And like it didn't work at all. And
Yeah.
so I just went to like a level 2 like awareness in our copy, and I was talking to, like, the whole claim was, if your roof has damage, like come see if you qualify for like extreme savings. Was it like, it was the most simple, easy to write copy angle,
Yeah.
and it drastically, like, our lead cost and book appointment cost was only like $40,
Yeah.
like 40 to 60 bucks. And I was like, dude, are you serious? I just need to start a roofing company.
Yeah, it's funny you say roofing because I know more than one person who's gone from similar work to that I've done and has ended up by one way or another with roofing. The other one is windows. I've met some. There was even a show about the window game. It was kind of like when The Office was out. There was a British show. I forget what it was called, but it was about guys that sold windows because those are $30,000, $40,000 deals, right? You don't think
Yeah.
about it that way, but when somebody goes door to door and sells you a set of windows, shout out to Alex Landgraf, I think his name is my buddy that I hope you got your last name right. Alex is a good friend. But yeah, he was in the window game when I met him and has since gone on to be like super duper successful. And it's
Dude,
like, yeah, man, he cut his bones and or cut his teeth in the nylon durable window world, which is apparently bloodthirsty.
dude, yeah, it's crazy, man. And solar as well. Solar's a
Yeah, that's a
really
big one. Yeah.
low awareness where like people are closing like $200,000 deals. Like,
Well, and it seems like too that this kind of ties into something my accountant told me once. Shout out to Dean. He was like, I go, Dean, what would you do if you could start a business? He goes, something where you're not selling to the person. He's like, so I would either set up physical therapy where I was getting paid by insurance, an auto body shop, or this kind of fits that too, where there's government subsidies for getting solar right now. And so there are these deals that you can sort of engineer, I think. And so you can get these big economic outcomes with smaller levers, right?
oh yeah, man. Yeah, anything selling to insurance, because like essentially the pitch for like a roofer that has roof damage and home insurance is, hey, we'll replace your roof for free. And like most of the people that I've talked to that are in the space handle all the paperwork. Just as long as they can get there in the person's home, it's like an easy close.
Yeah. And there was another one, I worked for a furniture company that my friend owns for a while. And we looked into like at home care and things like that. I've spoken to my buddy, Philip Moss, owns an at home care business. And there's a lot of, first of all, you're helping people, but beyond that, there's a lot of kind of economic incentive there. And it kind of lower barrier to success. The other thing that I've always thought about when writing copy is, and this is an Alex Hormozy thing, is like, what is the benefit that I'm selling? What is the benefit of the benefit? And then like you can get to that like sweet spot of that third level of like, yeah, lose weight is like the thing that we're doing is helping you lose weight. The benefit of that is you fit into your bikini. The benefit of the benefit is you show up and you're the best looking sister at the beach party or whatever, right? So there's like those different layers to it. To what extent do you guys think about avatars?
Oh, dude, it's like that's bread and butter. Like if you can
Sure.
sell one thing, you can sell anything because it's just a different type of person with different pains and pleasures that they want out of life.
Mhm.
So that's like, I mean, that informs almost everything that we do on the marketing front is really like getting ingrained with the way that your market thinks. Like, what are they complaining about with their spouse at the dinner table? Like, what's upsetting them? Like, when they're laying in bed, what's keeping them up?
Yeah.
And like, the more that you can get in line with that, the more successful your marketing will be, the easier it'll be to close deals. Because copywriting is literally just sales with words.
Sure.
So if you can sell one thing, like you can sell anything, you just have to figure out the market and the product, and then the rest is easy. Same skills that you've always had.
Yeah. And so, a lot of times, so Spear and Clover, the concept behind the Spear and Clover, it's this logo that I have on my arm here.
Oh, nice.
The idea is kind of working hard towards your goals, but they're goals that you're super passionate about and interested in, and putting your focus and your time and your energy towards those things that give you energy, not those things that take energy from you.
Yep.
And you alluded earlier, aside from the pastoring, that all you do is like work, focus on that and the pastoring stuff as well. Is there anything, what else takes your attention outside of business, if anything?
My wife and my kid. I really like, to be honest, I don't have much of a social life besides
Sure.
going to church. Like, I
That's
would
great.
rather just relax with my family. Like, my daughter is just a little bit over 2. And like, her big thing now is like, Dada, play toys. And so like all of my vision and my goals has now been shifted to time freedom. So like the reason I'm grinding so hard now is because I know in like a year and a half I'll have the time freedom that I want
Sure.
to be able to just play toys.
That's great. And so, with that said, so what about the work that you do is the attraction, the time freedom, or what about the work that you've chosen to do is appealing to you, like personally?
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I've always been in writing. So like the ad buying side is really just a mechanism to deploy the writing because copywriting is really, I'd say that's another thing that really separates us from any other agency is that we're really skilled on the copy side, which can make or break a campaign. So like a lot of times we've gone in where people didn't have high performing ad campaigns and been able to completely turn around the entire account just from shifting the copy. And so I think like I had, even when I was a kid, like I had entered short story contests and like there were a couple where I won like a couple $100 online through the contests and got like a gold letter thing in the mail from doing it.
Cool.
So before I got into the marketing side, I was actually trying to write children's books. And like that was something I wanted to do because I was like, okay, cool, I can just sell a million copies of a children's book. Like it's something easy. Like entrepreneurship is you just think you can do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And I can't wait to talk to you in 10 years, Ryan, right? Like, who knows where it's going to go from here? Because I know that when I was your age, you know, I'm not going to pull that card, but you know what I'm saying? Like you're constantly evolving, right? You're constantly evolving. The two words that are always in my head are undeniable and scale. And what I mean by that is like become undeniable, right? Whatever, if you take everything away, what's left? And are you still undeniable? And then the other one is scale. I've always played with that one because I was a brick and mortar gym owner, which meant that I was able to impact a few hundred lives. Like 500 people is like amazing in that business, right?
yeah.
And sort of one of the reasons why we're sitting here is the idea of scale. I want to reach more and bigger audiences, really not for a financial purpose, though I will happily accept it, more for just the impact, right? And so, what you do has so much scale baked in. So I definitely think about that a lot as well. You talked about changing around the copy and changing around just a little bit of what was happening, having big results. There's a couple of brands that lately to me have just like jumped off the page where like I'll buy whatever they're selling. And it's because they've just nailed the copy and the brand and the look and feel. One of those is Liquid Death, I think, is crushing it.
Yeah, with Codico and Noel Miller.
Oh my God. Liquid Death is crushing it. I mean, talk about, I mean, it's almost a joke. Like, it's almost a joke. They're like, I bet you we could sell water to like hardcore punk rock people or whatever, whoever they're really selling to, right?
Yeah.
And I think we could do it just by marketing. And literally nobody's got a complaint, right? The other one is Go Fast, Don't Die. I don't know if you've seen them. That one's maybe a little smaller. It's not as big, but they're like a motorcycle branded company. But everything they have is like so perfectly tuned in with it. And they have like group meetings that are just barbecues out like regionally across the country. And it's just super cool and spot on. Are there any brands that jump off the page to you that like really have it figured out and like have really done a good job of sort of like really becoming like almost a member of the tribe of who they're trying to reach?
Man, I would say probably like the first one that comes to mind. I don't know if it's necessarily like a member of like the tribe, but I think somebody that's really nailed it is Snow Teeth Whitening.
Okay.
With Josh Snow. And they just had a really big focus on influencer marketing at first. So like they had gotten Kylie Jenner, Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, I think was one of their ambassadors. And like they just landed some huge influencer deals that, I mean, I don't know what their sales were like on the back end before, but it seems as though that's what really skyrocketed them. But I think that they definitely have like their demographic, which is basically everybody since most people have teeth.
Sure.
But they've really landed that demographic. The other brand, which is actually one that we work with, is called the Beard Struggle, which is actually why I'm trying to grow this atrocious facial hair that you might be looking at if you're watching the video and not just listening to the audio.
Yeah.
But the Beard Struggle, so it's like a Viking brotherhood is kind of the theme. And so we built out an ambassador group with them of like 10,000 dudes with beards. And it's the Bearded Brotherhood is what it's called.
Nice.
And so like, dude, man, like in that group, guys will just go in there and be like venting and just be like, yo, I'm going through this. This is hard. And it's like all these guys with beards will just come and encourage them.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But yeah, I mean, they have it really figured out. Like we have the Mountain from Game of Thrones as an ambassador. Eddie Hall, who's like one of the other strongest men in the world. Like that's just the title, not like actually I know for a fact that he is, but
no, he is. Eddie Hall's a champion, man. One of the greatest American strength athletes ever.
Yeah, dude, he is scary.
Yeah. That's great, man. I think that's amazing. Today's show is brought to you by HighLevel CRM. HighLevel is an all-in-one platform designed to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses without the need for multiple softwares or an IT team. Not only does their easy-to-use software allow you to track and manage your leads throughout each phase of the relationship, but it also allows you to build funnels, track stats, and more. Guys, I sat down and added up the cost of software I was able to replace with just one app, and it was over $1,000 per month. Because this is an all-in-one application, I also save a ton of headaches connecting apps and building automations, and the team at Go HighLevel does a great job of getting you started quickly and easily when you sign on. I cannot more highly recommend these guys. Right now, Spear and Clover listeners get a free 14-day trial of HighLevel CRM for themselves. Click the link in our show notes to support the show and get started on your free 14-day trial today. Today's show is brought to you by Scaling with Media. I mean, literally, like if it weren't for the folks at Scaling with Media, you would not be getting this. Scaling with Media is a truly revolutionary company for any entrepreneur who wants to reach a larger audience without taking on the years of experience necessary to master the required skills. These guys do it all. From helping you develop your creative plan to editing, sourcing content, copywriting, ads management, and way more. Whether you're looking to launch a YouTube channel or podcast, or you just want to scale your business out to more eyeballs, these guys are the absolute best one-stop shop. But that's not all. Right now, Spear and Clover listeners who sign up for their brand launch package will receive a free, that's right, free professional grade studio kit that I'm actually recording right now on. The studio kit includes a professional microphone, stand, lighting, and headphones, and is worth well over $500. Take action now by going to scalingwithmedia.com/spear and claim your free studio kit. Again, that's scalingwithmedia.com/spear, scalingwithmedia.com/spear. Now back to the show. So So clearly, then you guys are getting involved one way or another, and in just a much deeper level. Speak to like, how has that impacted your culture as a team? How many people do you guys work with? What's your team culture like? Because it seems like
Um,
you really get it for the client, right? So what's your
yeah.
culture like?
So I have 9 employees under me. I'm the 10th one. And dude, it's pretty similar. Like it's just going to bat for each other. Like there's been times where like my media buyers are going through something and like they can't get ads up for whatever reason on a launch day. And like I'll go into the account and get it up for them. Times like where I haven't been able to show up and they've kind of grabbed the reins and been able to make things happen that needed to happen, even without me there. And then on top of that, like honestly, like it's really close knit. It's more like a family than it is like just my employees. Even when COVID hit, like I had some of the same employees, and like I was telling them, hey, listen, if there's a huge downturn, like don't worry, like I'll take care of you guys for at least like 6 months after. Like you'll be fine. Like, dude, there's one guy when I shut down the coaching business, we still had a couple clients that we had to serve, and it took 6 months, or no, 4 months of after we ended up shutting down. But I was still paying our coach on retainer for 4 months after shutting down, just because he was still serving all of our people up until like the last one got results and ended up hopping out of the program. So it's really like having, I mean, honestly, like best friends. Like my whole team is like we have a in our Slack channel, we have an extra channel where it's just like everybody hanging out and
Yeah.
like sending memes to each other.
Are you guys located all over?
Yeah, all the way from Pennsylvania, Missouri to Columbia.
Oh wow, cool. And so as pretty youthful guy leading a team, pretty good sized team, certainly big numbers. I know some of the folks you're working with are dealing with some pretty big numbers, right? And maybe we'll dig into that a little bit, but what do you do personally to make sure that you can show up as the leader that they're going to need? You know, how much of this is guys, we're just fucking sharpshooters on marketing, and how much of it is we're a team? You talk about family, you talk about stepping covering down and communicating really really well. How do you try to show up as a leader for somebody that's, younger, right? Newer to the world of owning a business like this.
Wait, what do you mean? Like,
So I guess what I'm saying is, are you, how do you view your role as a leader in the company, and how do you make sure you can show up for that team?
I mean, like making sure that I can show up is really just about taking care of my own like mental health. Cause this
Sure.
is like, I mean, I would say advertising as a business is like the modern day Wall Street. Like it's very volatile, a lot of times up and downs, very stressful. And so like part of it was like, I mean, dude, 6 months into last year, I ended up getting a therapist. Like just all the stuff going on in the world, all the stuff going on in business.
Yeah.
So part of that is really just making sure that I'm like taking care of my mental health. Really, I recharge a ton from spending time with my wife and kid. And so like there's been times where I've like cut the day short, canceled meetings just to be like, yo, I need to recharge. I'm like losing my temper, or I'm just not behaving in the way that I should be. Like whether that's like being snappy, whether that's like not necessarily putting in my best effort in something. So I'd say, yeah, like part of that's just taking care of my mental health. And then I work out every day just because that helps a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why I got the Bob last year. I just needed something to wail on for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, so I'd say that's it. And then like showing up as a leader, I think is a lot more not necessarily leading from the front, but leading from behind. Like being behind, pushing people, making sure that their needs are met. Like, I mean, one of my creative guys, like whenever we first came on, I couldn't afford to pay him what he wanted. So like instead of doing that and like him taking a pay hit, I ended up paying for his rent and giving him like a stipend for whatever he needed at first, up until we could afford to pay him what he needed. Whenever we were first bringing him on. And not that like the margins were low or anything, it's just I have a set. So here's the vision is I want to end up selling the agency at the end of this year. And so I have to be at least 35% profit margins. I can't
Yep.
dip below that. So that was the reason why. But like, yeah, I think it really is just about like being there for people. Like whenever they need stuff, like not just in a work way, but even outside of that, like biology wise, stress wise, anxiety wise. Like man, there's been times where I've hopped on a call and like someone was crying and was like, I don't just don't know what's gonna happen, blah, 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 blah. And I think that also comes from being a pastor, is like being able to handle that kind of stuff and instill like, I mean, for me it's faith. I know for other people it could be something else, but being able to instill that hope into people, I think is a huge part of it.
Yeah. And you're dealing with folks, right? I mean, whether you're coaching or whether you're running marketing or whatever it may be, when you're serving other entrepreneurs, particularly when you're serving, let's say, non-corporate, right? Let's say below $10 million in revenue, right? Where these are family businesses, these are small operations. You're dealing with folks that a lot of times when they come to you, it's because something didn't work. So they're making a change. And so their back is against the wall. And if it doesn't start, and the work that you guys do can take time before it starts working. You talk about testing different audiences, different copy, different formats and offers. That can take months before you really start to see the fruits of your reward. So yeah, I'm sure that you're having folks come to you in very difficult times, and so that's got to be a big part of your success, is being able to handle that, right?
Oh yeah, man, and it's very stressful. Like I remember when I first started getting calls at like 3 in the morning from clients overseas because like something wasn't performing on their end. Like, and it's like 4 p.m. for them, but I'm like in the middle of the night waking up, scrambling, blurry
Sure.
vision, try to see what's going on. But yeah, dude, definitely it is. It's like the weight of somebody else's livelihood on your shoulders. Like, it's a
Yeah.
lot sometimes.
Yeah, and so you talk about, the goal of selling, and even just the way you introduced that into the conversation, I thought was interesting. And it was, you plan on selling at the end of this year, which is awesome. Good luck, and kudos to you. But you also said you need to be at 35% margin. So there's a lot behind that statement. But A, have you planned on selling from the very beginning? And B, what are you doing to prepare for that?
I didn't plan on selling. I honestly didn't even think I'd be able to sell
Sure.
whenever I was first starting. So like the name of the company now is Ryandale Media. I'm planning to rebrand in February. I'm not necessarily sure what it will be named. I'm thinking Agency J, mainly for like the story of Joseph in the Bible.
Vaguely. I did to church my whole young life, but I'm not going to
uh,
don't put me on the spot here now, Ryan.
I need you to recite it verse by
Yeah, right.
verse.
Oh
um,
yeah, sure. Corinthians. It was
yeah. But it's his story. So he's like his father's favorite son. He gets this colorful robe. He has
yeah.
12 brothers. His brothers are mad because he has a dream where they all are serving him or something like that. So they throw him into a pit. And like his whole life, he has this promise of being raised up and his family serving him and all the people around him serving him. And he gets thrown into this pit by his brothers. So he has this vision from God beforehand of everybody serving, gets thrown into the pit, goes to Egypt, is a slave, ends up becoming super powerful because while he's a slave, this guy named Potiphar realizes, hey, everything Joseph does succeeds, like God's favors on him. So he goes there. His wife, Potiphar's wife, lies, says Joseph tried to sleep with her. Joseph gets thrown in prison for like another couple years. And like the prisons in ancient Egypt were like 4 feet high. Like they used to be cisterns. And so it's like this moist, wet air, cold, damp, 4 feet high. Like you can't stand up, you're crawling everywhere. And so he's there for 2 years. And so his gift is getting dreams from God and being able to interpret dreams. And so this dude has a dream. Joseph tells him what he means. And all he says is, hey, just don't forget about me whenever you go to Pharaoh and you tell him what your dream meant. So the guy goes, tells Pharaoh what his dream meant, forgets about Joseph for like another 3 years. So there's this timeline of 19 years that go by from when he received the promise of like being in a high position, essentially. Takes 19 years of all this hardship and heartache and all these bad things happening where it feels like everybody's deserting him. And then in an instant, Pharaoh has a dream. The guy remembers, goes and gets Joseph. And the next day, Joseph is the second most powerful man in the entire world because he's second to Pharaoh. And so it's really like, I really do view us as like the underdog. And I feel like that like embodies the story of Joseph. So I'm thinking about rebranding to Agency J just because of that. Just because like in an instant, everything can change. And you'll go from the underdog to being the second most powerful marketing agency in the world.
I love
uh,
it, man.
but to answer your question in a long way, I guess. Wait, what was the question?
I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Like that was a really great answer. I think just as a comment, you clearly come alive when you're talking about stuff like that, whether it's your faith or whether it's just telling that story or something that clearly has anchored meaning to you. Is that something that you would ever pursue professionally, or is that, what's the way you feel about that?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. That's the goal is after getting acquired, I'm going to dump some stuff into whole life for the guaranteed returns, pull the cash out, put it in real estate. live off the cash flow. And then my goal is to start writing books, just getting back to like what I used to do, what I wanted to do in the beginning.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, the goal is to start writing books around like Christianity, faith, teaching people, and then just giving people hope. Like, especially the last 2 years, man, I feel like tons of people have had awful 2020s and 2021s, and being able to be, I don't know, being able to be somebody that can instill hope in people, it means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I agree. And you talk about this is the second time now that we've kind of brushed up against COVID a little bit. So there's a few things about that that are interesting to me. One would be people had these weird experiences where you lose your job and then you get government check or like, the business is not doing well and then you get some stimulus. And so there are folks that came out of COVID like better off. There's folks that came out of COVID worse off. There's folks that came out of COVID with more money and a terrible, relationship with the community around them because they were stuck in their house or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
such a completely unique experience that we've all gone through. I would imagine that from the position you're sitting, you've seen a lot of changes in the market. A lot of people pivoting maybe from brick and mortar to online, a lot of people changing markets, a lot of people maybe seeing big growth or big reductions. What has been the change in the market that you serve kind of throughout this whole ordeal?
I mean, honestly, through 2020, it was like incredible. It was the cheapest ads had ever been. It was like I wasn't running ads in 2012, but people were saying that had been running ads in 2012 that it was the same cost that they were getting back then. And
Wow.
it's 8 years later, and ad costs have just drastically risen every single year since Facebook first started allowing people to advertise on their platform. But yeah, I would say like the biggest change is into 2021, ad costs started going up. And then I know you're familiar with Apple going after Facebook and after these advertising platforms. So that was really where I saw the biggest shift in our industry. Because before Facebook lost a lot of the data that they were getting, you could literally throw up just about anything. And their algorithm was powerful enough to just be able to find people that would buy it or find people that would opt in or find people that would book an appointment. And so recently, like the biggest change has been a huge focus on getting back to like the roots of direct response, like where it's very audience aware, very pain and solution aware, and just positioning yourself as like the best solution. And then also a focus on offers and content. Because like I said, like before, you didn't necessarily have to have a better offer than anybody. Facebook would just be able to find people to purchase your product. But now it's like you actually have to be good to be able to get results.
That's so fascinating so to hear. It's the first time anybody's quite put it like that, but it's interesting because at least in our business, in the business I was serving, which is brick and mortar fitness, I think the biggest poison pill in that industry from a marketing perspective was cost per lead, right? Everybody wants to know what's the cost per lead. What can I get a cost per lead, cost per lead, cost per lead, cost per lead? And you're
Yeah.
right. In 2018, 2019, even some of 2020, Facebook would just throw leads at you based on who would opt in for something. But then you look at cost to acquire a high paying client that actually gave you money. And a lot of times you'd be like, cost per lead, $10, cost to acquire, $300. So like 1 in 30 is signing up. What are we doing? Why are we even reaching these people? Right. And so what seems to be what you're implying is the folks that are doing better now are actually getting in front of folks with messaging that they want to buy, which then will pass them through to a lower cost per acquisition. I hope that wasn't too technical for a podcast, but does that make sense?
No, yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think that that's a blessing in disguise. If I was still serving a brick and mortar gym owner, which I certainly have some relationships there, but that would be, I think that's a blessing in disguise, right? Literally just go back to the thing and get the folks. You just have to shift the conversation because as the entrepreneur, on the entrepreneur side, talking to somebody like you, Ryan, my only concern, not mine, but their only concern a lot of times is like, well, I heard you can get me $5 leads. It's like, yeah, man, just
Yeah,
advertise a free, and I get them, advertise a free restored Bronco to me on Instagram and I'm going to sign up, man. But if you're selling me health insurance, I'm not buying shit.
yeah, exactly, man. So
Yeah,
like a lot of times your lead cost, because that is what matters most, is the cost per acquisition. So
sure.
like that is what our big focus is on the end goal. So like, I mean, if your lead cost is $30, but one in every two leads opts in, or one in every three opts in, and ends up becoming a booked appointment or a purchaser, like I'll take that all day over $5 leads and 1,000 cost per acquisition.
Do you have ratios that you like? Are there certain KPIs that go across industries for you when it comes to marketing KPIs?
Not necessarily across industries. I mean, each industry, I think that they're pretty specific to each industry to where like in roofing, it's like $60, sub 60 or sub $80 appointments. And same within solar. So like maybe like where it's similar but different, like in those, but like KPIs for us are like 10% of every lead should become a booked appointment. 50% of booked appointments should become clients. Like stuff like that. Yeah, those are the ones where I would say, but I mean like the rate of leads becoming booked appointments in roofing is like super high because anyone that's opting in is in need and in pain for whatever they're opting in for.
Yeah, I would love to see what those numbers look like on the entrepreneur side. Maybe I'll try and maybe refer somebody to me and we'll put them on the podcast. Because the thing that I think about is the ones for me have always been, I want to double my money up front. So my cost to acquire is 100. I need to be at least getting 200 up front. And I want to 10x my money over the contract value of that client. Right. And if I can do that, I'm thinking, man, I bet you a roof is way better than that. Damn it, Ryan, you got me thinking about other businesses now.
I do same. I think about it every day.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate and I'm cursed. And that is I can't spend more than an hour on a business that I'm not super passionate about. And so, with respect to those folks out there who love roofing, like it's just not in the cards for me. But cool, man. Well, I know there's two questions that I ask everybody that comes on the show. First question is, if you had access to unlimited capital, how would you profitably grow your current business?
How would I profitably grow my current business?
Yes.
Man, I have so many ideas. I mean, just the easiest one I'd put everyone W-2, and then I would end up running ads, because if I had unlimited funds, then I could grow at a loss. So it wouldn't necessarily matter because I'd make it up long term. And then I would just run ads. It'd probably be like, to acquire the type of client that we would want to work with, it'd probably be a pretty expensive cost per acquisition, to where it would take about 3 months in order to make our money back. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it'd be worth it because they'd stick for longer and we'd retain them for years. I would say that would definitely be the way. So I W-2 all the employees, put them all on salaries instead of percents, and as contractors, and then just dump money into ads, build out a sales team, appointment setters, and just start closing, which is what we're going to do anyway, just more conservatively.
Sure. Because you're bound by reality, right? So then it leads me to an interesting question before we get to the second one. And that is, are you capable of taking not a blank slate, but maybe somebody that's not fully cooked and making them into an excellent marketer or an excellent member of the team? Or do you typically try to, I say you can draft or you can trade, right? You can either draft somebody and make them into something, or you can trade for somebody that's already a pro in the industry. What have you found more success in, if anything?
Well, we've personally found more success in the trade, just because doing as much as I currently do, I don't necessarily have time to be training everyone.
Sure.
So like one of our media buyers ran all the Grant Cardone stuff for like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So definitely trade is where we've had the most success. I think if you have the time to train someone, you'll have more success training instead of trading, just because you can take somebody from beginner to expert without any bad habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also just, even on this conversation, anybody paying attention could tell Ryan has a different set of core values and a different mission. We talk about the story of Joseph. How many digital marketers are going to share that, right? And so I bet you could probably, given enough time and focus, you could probably make a better teammate out of your youth pastor group than you could out of a ClickFunnels page, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it makes sense. It makes sense. And by the way, no disrespect to ClickFunnels. Those guys are awesome. Those funnel hackers.
Shout out Russell Brunson.
Yeah, man. Shout out. Second question is, if you, and you've kind of already answered this, but if you had to stop doing the businesses that you've done or are currently doing, and you had to start something totally different going forward, what do you think that would be?
Unlimited funding or no?
No, I mean, it's sort of undescribed. You actually have to do it yourself. So,
dude, honestly, I'd probably do something way low stress, like landscaping, lawn mowing company or something. Just scale that out. Like anything service based, I think anyone can get into a service based business, grow it to, at least low 7 figures, like breaking $1 million in a year or two. Like I think anybody can do that. I'd probably do something like that. Like if Facebook goes away, digital marketing goes away for whatever reason. Because I know, I think I read in the news, China's cracking down on algorithms. which means probably the rest of the world's going to crack down on algorithms soon. But yeah, if I had to start anything, it'd be some sort of local service-based business, residential or commercial, just something lower stress than.
And to your point, and I've said this on other shows, my wife constantly has to talk me out of doing that because we moved from Chicago to Northwest Indiana here in the dunes, which is great. And again, I'm going to come off as like such an anti-Indiana Hoosier, whatever, but I'm not. I love it here. It's a slice of heaven. But I realize that what you grow accustomed to in the city, there is an elegant solution to most problems. If you want your lawn done, you get a new driveway, you want to get the roof fixed, you want to do whatever, you really would be surprised at how much room for modernization, systemization, improvement there is just in stuff like plumbing and lawn care. And, I was a banker for JP Morgan, or an analyst for JP Morgan when I was young. And I remember I asked my senior underwriter, I was like, what's one of your favorite businesses that you've ever banked? And he's like, this guy bought a $1,200 power washer. He was in a rural place and he just was washing barns. And then he bought another one, and then he bought another one, and then he bought another one. And now he's the barn washing king of whatever region this guy was from. And it's these simple service businesses, I think, is a really good and effective way to scale. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a great answer. Great. So, and then the second thing that you kind of, in your first answer, you talked about reaching out and trying to find those clients that you want to work with the most. Well, guess what, buddy? You're on a podcast for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need to advertise. Tell us a little bit about who you serve and what that looks like. What is the size? What is the types of businesses that you serve? Kind of give us your pitch, man.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a size requirement. It's essentially we serve service-based businesses, coaches, consultants, or brands. So really anyone who needs inbound appointments, process is the same every time. I'm kind of like what I was saying about sales and copywriting. Really all it takes is a little bit of market awareness, and you can pretty much market and sell to anyone as long as you know what makes them tick. And so, yeah, man, essentially what we do is we just connect businesses with more customers at a profitable level. So like marketing doesn't have to be a sunk cost. It doesn't have to be something where you're like, I don't want to up my marketing budget. It could be, hey, let's spend a bunch of money on marketing because we 3X every single time we do.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially what we're into, man. Profitable advertising at scale.
Well, and to give you, just to toot your horn a little bit here, I remember a post not that long ago where it was like, I've seen you take companies over time from very low, like 5 digits up to 7 figures. And so very impressive, the journey that you've gone on with folks. And I appreciate you taking the time, Ryan, to come on. So if people wanted to follow you, follow your business, or reach out about, inquiring about services, where would they go?
Honestly, if they're interested, they can just shoot me an email at ryan@ryandalemedia.com. The Dale is DALE in the middle, not Dell. But they can go there, or ryandalemedia.com/tank page. And that's just some of the work that we've done, some of the testimonials that we have. That'd be the best place to find us.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming out. And separately, I'd love to have you back on as you approached the sale of the business, because I think there's so much that listeners can learn from that process, preparing for that process, the steps that you take, and ultimately the way that you look at it. So I would love to invite you back on when that's coming closer. So let's stay in touch about that. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was a blast.
Awesome, brother. Have a good one. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to show us some love by liking, rating, and subscribing so we can keep making more and better content. If you'd like to support the show and get a great additional content like exclusive shows and even live group masterminds, please head over to patreon.com/Spear and Clover to become a member of the tribe. If you're interested in learning more about how we help entrepreneurs, visit spearandclover.com or message us on any of our platforms. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.